All right, so in this video, we're going to talk about landing pages. And landing pages are a bit of a newer feature. You're going to find this under the marketing section. And we'll go ahead and click on that little card right here. And you might see a list of some landing pages if you've checked this out before. Otherwise, we're actually going to start from scratch. We're going to click on this create a page, and then we'll see some template options here. So feel free to kind of like explore these, create a couple of them. You can actually preview them to see what they look like live. And if you don't see something that's to your liking, you can still just click on one of these and we can swap out the blocks, no problem, on the next page. So I will go ahead and I'm going to click on this boutique fitness one here. And then we'll just go over kind of the settings here and how to add new blocks and a few other options. So maybe to start here, let's start at the top. When you're previewing this, we actually show this to you in kind of desktop preview mode, but you can switch this over to a mobile preview mode. And you'll note that everything should size accordingly to a mobile phone kind of viewport there. You don't have to do a lot of work to get this working. Occasionally, if you've got some really long buttons, you might want to just double check that they fit on the mobile version and that they're not kind of wrapping to a second line. That's kind of like the one key thing that I would recommend watching out for. And then staying along the top here, we have the settings and preview page. When you're actually like hovering over stuff, you'll see some options here like editing, the trash, shuffling things around, and you can't really click on things. So if I click on this, I'm going to go into the edit mode. So if I actually click preview page, I can see it as the end user would experience things. And this is where I can then have these kind of pop downs or these drop downs here. I can actually click them, see how things work, click on this to shuffle things over. So that's a good option there when you actually want to see how it works from the user's perspective. Okay, and then let's click on this settings option. And this is where you give your page a title and set the URL and maybe an SEO description. Definitely recommend doing this for everything just so that it could properly rank on Google. And then finally, two more options here. You have these kind of global settings here, such as the heading font, which are these larger blocks of text here, and then body font, something like this below, or maybe this would be body font, this would be body font. Whereas these top ones here are your heading fonts. So you can actually do two different fonts for those if it makes sense in your situation. Now, just because you change this globally doesn't mean though that later you can't click on individual blocks here and change just a specific title. This is just a kind of a quick way to change global font styles here, but again, can still be changed individually later. And then corner styles here. So we kind of have two options. You have corner styles for buttons, guys like this, or for cards. And let's just actually test this out here. So I think if we go standard, you'll note that it changed a little bit there. And then card corners, these would be considered cards, kind of these like block images that you'll see in a few different sections here, and you can change those as well. And in some cases, you can switch them to be completely round. Just kind of maybe double check your various themes, the various blocks here, that it's not kind of messing things too up if you go too hard. But again, also note that you can change this for individual blocks. This is just global settings to kind of make things easier for you. Okay, so what we'll do, we'll close this. So when you hover over these blocks, you can actually see what is all in the block based off this little kind of dot all the way around. So I can edit these just by clicking anywhere or this button, same thing. I can also trash these if I don't want to use this particular block, and I can move it up or down. This one's already at the top, so I can't move it any further, but I could shuffle it down one and then put it back if I like. And you'll note that there's this kind of all changes saved here at the top. There's no save button on these pages, so you don't have to worry about saving your changes. As you make them, it will automatically update things for you. Okay, and then before we jump into the blocks, maybe let's just start with this navigation block here at the top. So we'll edit this. This is an optional block, so you can actually disable this so it doesn't appear at all. And then this would be the top here. And it makes sense in some cases, like if you're building a landing page that you don't want people to get distracted by, the catalog links or the home links or your frequently asked question links in the navigation, you can completely hide it. And then what you're doing is trying to drive them to a specific call to action on the page, which can be pretty useful. In this case, I'll just leave this on for a sec here so I can show you kind of some of what are the options here. You can set custom background colors here. That'll be the same with other blocks that you're seeing. Like this has a white background. I can change that really easily. And then I can, change the style of actually the text. Maybe I don't want this kind of proper case here. I could do everything as uppercase. So you'll note that there's, quite a few options like that. It's kind of scattered throughout these different blocks. I wouldn't worry too much about memorizing everything just because all the different blocks have so many different options. So as long as you get familiar with actually using it and kind of what are the options are available to you, I think you'll be on the right track. Okay, and then a few other things like you can put a logo up here. If the logo doesn't load for some reason, what's the text behind it? What's the width that you want it to fill? If someone clicks the logo, where does it go? That's where you have this kind of URL option here. And then where does actually like it populate these values from? Like why does it have home, join now, catalog? Well, these are actually, let's actually click on our customization section. We'll click on navigation and we have this main navigation here. And so this is typically like I can choose where to populate this from by selecting the navigation option here. So if you had multiple navigation items, maybe you have a custom one just for these landing pages, you can set that here, which is really cool. Okay, and so let's talk about blocks here. So as I mentioned, you can kind of just click on this anywhere, and then you'll see some options on the left here. And definitely just, click on different blocks, check around. You can see the different options. Like I can switch this to a different color in the background. I can replace this image over here. I can even, I think set opacity. So if I want this to be a bit faded, I can do that. And then the color that I've set in the background will kind of appear there. If I set white, it might look a lot brighter there. Maybe it doesn't make sense in all cases, but you have those options here. You can even have stuff like how you want to center things, and there's lots of different cool options here. Now, if I like this block overall, but maybe I want to make some key tweaks, like maybe I want this on the right and the image on the left, that is where you have this choose design option. So you click on choose design for this hero banner block, and you'll see here that there's a lot of different options. This one has text on the left, image on the right. This one's the opposite, stuff like that. And some of them, have videos and things like that. So like, let's click on this one here. And you'll note that there's actually kind of I'm in the background dropdown, and there's actually the option to set a video background. So this is where I can just pick one from my storefront, like from my catalog that I've uploaded, and I can have that here. And I mean, typically keep these pretty short. You don't want these like 5-minute videos. 20, 30 seconds is usually pretty good to draw people in with this kind of animation here. Of course, now that I've added this video, I'll probably want to have a look at the font, because maybe black isn't quite readable here, in which case if I go to this content section, you'll see that we have this small text editor, and it has the classics like bold and italic and all that stuff, and you can do bullet lists and things like that. But you can also click on this little eyedropper here, and you can set a color. So in this case, I probably do want it to be quite a bit lighter, so that it can be read more easily. And this one's kind of in a weird spot. It's a bit dark in some spots, a bit bright in some. So maybe this video isn't quite right for this. But on top of that too, I can change the size of it. I can just kind of highlight that, make that larger, kind of shuffles it up a little bit more, things like that. You can make it really small. And you can do that for pretty much all your different block sections. Now, one kind of key thing too is like, so say I'm just going to select a color again. Oh, there's a good chance that I can't quite remember which exact spot on the color picker I chose. So when I go to this next section and click the color picker, actually, maybe I'll move myself all the way here. You can see here's that previously used color. So it allows you to kind of like just reselect a color that you use somewhere else to keep things consistent. Otherwise, the kind of option is just to remember those hex values or RGBA, whatever you want to put in here as well. Okay, so now let's say I want to add a completely new block. I can just click on this plus section, and you'll see the different blocks that we have options for. And there's lots of them. I really recommend just kind of clicking through them. And this is kind of how I would typically do it. I would click on this benefits spotlight, and then you would see the kind of 5 different options that we offer. And so you can have a look at that, see like, oh, I really like this one. You can add that over, and then you can start customizing it to your liking. And of course, have a look at all these other ones too, like text and video, and it has a lot of different options there. Maybe that you want to show your team, stuff like that. And actually, while we're looking at one like this, I want to bring up one of these. So some blocks have as I kind of showed you previously with the rounded corners, what we call cards. And cards basically allow you to add more than a few items, or how many are ever appropriate for this type of block. In this case, I have 5 cards here, but maybe I have 6 teachers, right? So I would just click add new item, and it'll add usually a duplicate of the closest one here. But then you simply just type in what you want, replace those images, and then you have a 6th person here or more items. Maybe you need to reduce it. I can delete this element. I can click on this one here too. I can delete it as well. And now I am down to 4 options here. So stuff like that. So you'll note that there's quite a few blocks with cards, and you can simply just add new items that way. So definitely have a look at that option. And finally, if you, gotta move myself again here. If you have code that you need to add, that's maybe some CSS or JavaScript that's very specific for this page, we have a custom HTML block. So you can add little style tags here and then add your own little code here as well to style things however you want. Just make sure, you add the opening and closing tags here, and same thing if you're doing script tags as well. For JavaScript, you just need to add the opening and closing tags there as well, and that'll affect just this page here, won't affect other pages on your site. So hopefully that's a good overview for landing pages. If you have questions, we're happy to listen to you from our onboarding team or support, so definitely feel free to reach out, and hopefully you learned something good from this video. Thanks, everyone.